The scenario here is that we want to access our internal server in our local network using our public IP address using a custom port. So we will be port forwarding a custom port to our internal server. We will be accessing it here using a custom port 4001 and our public IP address. Here the public IP address would be, or which is linked to the IP address, I am using a custom domain which is etltest.mydbsync.com:4001. So as a request comes to our firewall for the port 4001, our SonicWall Firewall is configured to forward any request that is coming to 4001 to the internal server 10007 to its original RDP port 3389. So any request that comes to port number 4001 to this particular public IP will be forwarded to 10007 internal server and remote desktop port default port that 3389. So let's see how we can do that. First we have to create a custom service object. Here in network services we can add a custom service object. As you can see, I am giving an ideal name for my service, that is my DB sync ETL terminal, as this server which I am forwarding will be using for ETL testing purpose for our internal employees. So I am using a TCP custom port here instead of default TCP port 3389 which is used for RDP remote desktop connection. So I'm defining a custom port 4001 and I'll be adding a service object now. Okay, we have added the service object entry successfully. Now we can go to wizards and we'll choose a public server wizard. Now here the server type, we have FTP, mail server, terminal services server or other. For Windows it is appropriate to choose terminal services server, but since I'd be using a custom port number to access it from public or remote, so I'll be using other. And service, the service I just created, that is my DBSync ETL terminal. So going forward, okay, I have to give a server name here, which would be my private server name. Again, it's my DBSync ETL terminal. You can give any name, it doesn't matter, it's just for identification. The server private IP address, which is my internal IP address assigned for the server, say in my case it is 10007, and the server command, let it be my DBSync test. So this terminal is being used for testing purpose and it will be easy for me to identify. So now I give my server's public IP address here, which I would be requesting to access. Like say if I have a domain name that is forwarded to my public IP address, or we have multiple public IP address, some domain we are using, and that domain and colon my port number which I just defined 4001 would give access to my server. That is the whole idea. So now this would be giving me the idea which all would be created by this wizard. This would be creating an address object, this would be creating me the Nat policies, the subnet loopback policies and all. So we can have a look at the Nat policies that are being created by the wizard. So under Nat Policies, we would be able to see the three policies. Let's wait. Okay, here we have three policies. This is a loopback policy, which we can make use of that if we request this public name from internal IP address within our local network. This would translate that and we can get access directly. If I type mydbsync etl.test.com :4001 within internal network, also this would translate and loop back. I have one more, which the source could be any and translated would be whichever request is came, that will be translated, the original, and destination is my public IP address, and the translated address would be mydbsync etl terminal private address, which in my case here is 10.0.0.7, and requested service is mydbsync etl terminal service. In my case it is 4001, the port I just defined for accessing it. So whoever want to access it would be requesting with my public IP address or the domain name : the 4001 in the remote desktop client. So if see, in my case it is translating to original, which means if I request 4001, this will go to 10.0.0.7 : 4001. If that has to work, I'll have to change the remote desktop port number in my terminal server. I'll have to go and customize that port, change it from 3389, the default port, to 4001, so it will work without issues. Or I have an alternative way. I can change it to port forward this. So I can just edit this policy, Nat policy here. You see this icon here, edit this entry, and I'll just request it. If any request is coming to my public x1 IP address, and if it's getting translated to my private IP address, which the original service requested is 4001, in my case my mydbsync etl terminal service, it is 4001, the TCP port 4001, it should translate to 3389, so I don't have to change the default port number. So I would point it to terminal services TCP, where it is. Okay, so if a request is coming to TCP port number 4000, my firewall would forward it to port number 3389. So without changing any configuration in my server, the request would directly go to it and it would be answered. So I'll just click OK. That's it. We are ready to go. We can choose a remote desktop client and try accessing it via my public IP address. This I have tested personally and would work fine, but I don't have much time. I don't want you to wait longer for watching this. You can try it yourself now. Thanks for watching. Thank you.